I also want to say wouldn't it be wonderful if we just wanted to manifest a mandolin all of a sudden just shows up out of the middle of nowhere? Let's see if I can do it. I would love to have an accordion and a tuba player here right now. I thought, we teach manifestation in this church, yes? The life that we are living is the life that we have created, that we have co-created together. So I thought I'd ask a couple of questions. All of you who believe in psychotelekinesis, please raise my hand. All of you that believe in psychotelekinesis, raise your own hand. You're thinking now, what is he doing? All those who believe that you had the free will to raise your hand or not raise your hand, and that you are accepted no matter whether your hand goes up or your hand goes down, that you belong in the environment of the love that is in this room, raise your hand. I love that. I love that. Last week we talked about the 5 soul senses, the 5 necessary components for us to overcome any obstacle in our life. Any giant, we use David and Goliath as the metaphor, but any obstacle, there are 5 senses that we carry with us, that we were born onto the planet having. I'm sure you all remember them because you studied them, right? Vigorously this week. I know the people online absolutely remembered what they are. They are love, understanding, faith, trust, and the topic for today, intuition. Intuition. Before I went to seminary, I wanted to go to psychic school, but I couldn't afford the intuition. I should have followed my gut that was a bad joke and it was going to get a boo. These are necessary things. The intuition is a necessary component to walking this earth school that we're on. Our intuition, or what I like to call our 6th sense, which is the topic for today. You may have noticed the numerical pattern to the series. We started with our triune being, spirit, soul, and body. We're all of those things. Then we looked at the 4 seasons of Easter. Last week was beyond our 5 senses, and today is our 6th sense. We have been taught, I don't know about you, but I have been taught since a very young age to, either through my experience, the critique, the lessons I learned, or the judgment of others, or my own judgment of myself, a system that says don't trust your gut. Don't trust your gut. Go with what you learn. Go with what I teach you. That's what you need to trust, not your intuition. Yet, I find that intuition is one of the most essential, if not the most essential, quality necessary for our evolution. Individually and collectively, we need to rely on that intuition that has been subjugated to the back seat of our life, not to trust it. Just go, follow lockstep in line with what I tell you is the truth. Well, I'm challenging you today to get back in touch and to put that intuition back in the front seat. In fact, put it in the driver's seat. It is the work of inner knowing that all the great masters and teachers and prophets tried to instill within us, tried to call forth from us. Yet we are going against the grain by trying to put it aside and say it's not as important as what I have learned. Intuition is a spiritual system that absolutely is going to bypass your education. It will bypass your learning. It will bypass your emotions. It will bypass your bias. How many brought bias into the room today? Let's just get real. If your hand doesn't go up, you're not on an evolving path. We need to examine those old systems, those belief systems of us and them that we're still carrying. So the intuition will bypass that kind of bias. It will bypass your experience, and it will lead you to home. What is home? Well, only you can define what home is, but I would call it heaven on earth. I would call it the complete and total awareness that I'm one with the essence of God. And you are one with the essence of God. That means everybody in this room and I, we are one. We belong to each other in a great tapestry. Individually beautiful and unique, but still woven together in a beautiful tapestry. Yes? This idea of our intuition has been equated with certain parts of our body. Which ones would you say? I have a heart feeling. I have a heart feeling. This is the universe calling us out of our head and down into our heart. The chaplains, we're always saying that. You pray with a chaplain and there's 4 of them in the room holding sacred space. They'll say, let's drop down into our heart to a higher intelligence, from the IQ to the EQ, which I'll explore a little bit later. But where's the other place? The gut. Tap down into the gut, a gut feeling. Anybody have a decision that you've made based on a gut feeling, or have butterflies in your stomach that were trying to teach you something? I'm saying it's moving from the IQ to the EQ to the SQ, the spiritual quotient. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I think what's happened is we have unfortunately relegated that SQ to the back seat of life, and it needs to be put back into the front seat. Albert Einstein, he knew this long ago. This is what he had to say. Let's read it together. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. We have reversed what is important, how we are organically created, and this is one of the most brilliant minds on the planet. Yet he said the IQ must follow the SQ. The sacred spiritual part must be leading, must be driving. We have reversed those roles and inadvertently put the most important sacred gift of the light, the Buddha, the Christ, whatever you want to call it, in the back seat. Or perhaps it hasn't been so inadvertent that we have done that. Because I tell you, it is really hard to manipulate and to control people when they are using their intuitive faculty. Breathe with me. Religious systems have found this for years. It's really hard to manipulate and to control people if they are being empowered to use their intuitive faculty, to try truth on for size for themselves. Yet that's what we do here. My job would be so much easier if I just told you, think the way I think. But if you and I think exactly alike, one of us is unnecessary. If everybody in this room thinks the same, then I might as well be having a monologue with myself. The reality is you are encouraged to use your intuitive faculty. And this week it was really interesting. We put out online little blips of talks, and I talked about the God of your understanding. Let me tell you the hornet's nest that came up. I was accused of being a wolf in sheep's clothing this week, all over Facebook, because I encourage you to think for yourself, because I encourage you to find the God of your understanding. There is only one way, and you must think the way we think. So I have one thing to say to the critique of being a wolf in sheep's clothing. Bah. Bah. You know, here at Unity, we tell you, it's by the very nature of our teachings to talk to your body. Listen to your body. Have a conversation with the organs, the muscles, the tissues, the fibers, the hair, the bone, the sinew, and the cells of your body. Why is it? Because the cells have an intelligence. You were born in the image and after the likeness of perfection and goodness and wholeness and wisdom, and it lives in your cells. But where does that wisdom come? From your past experience. But not just your past experience. There's a thing called DNA, the sins of the father. I'm saying I'm not so concerned about the sins of the father or the grandfather or the grandmother. I'm more about the wisdom that lives within me. The wisdom that was passed down from generation to generation that lives at the very cellular level of my being. Myrtle Fillmore is one of the co-founders of Unity. She was told by modern medicine, by the IQ said, make your peace with your Creator because you're not going to be here 6 months from now. And Myrtle Fillmore, in her toughness, says, the hell I'm not. The hell I'm not. She went down to the SQ and she began having conversations with the tuberculosis, with her fingers, her hands, her ears, her eyes, her organs, her heart, her lungs. She began to have conversations and began to then listen. You see, conversation means stopping and listening as well. This is a great thermometer for what's going on. The intuitive faculty of the very light of God exists at the point of your body. And for too long, we have separated spirituality and our physicality. You cannot separate them, or you're creating a system of duality. Your spirituality lives in your cells, lives in your heart, lives in your mind, and lives in your gut. Yes? The body is a tool of the intuitive spirit. I also tell people, and this is kind of rare, this is, I guess, what wolves in sheep clothing do. Don't take my word for it. You could come in here and blindly walk lockstep and take every word I say and say, yes, yes, amen, amen. Or you could go, let me try it on for size. We tell you to take the ideas shared from this platform or any class that we teach and implement it into your life. Use it to see if it is a fit for you. To not blindly accept any spiritual idea or any other idea that is espoused by me or any other teacher up here. Don't blindly follow what I am saying. This is what the Buddha taught. This is what the Dalai Lama teaches. Follow it for yourself and use it. Because I know one thing, intuition is a much better litmus test than any minister that's ever walked the face of the planet. Your gut feeling, your heart feeling, your intuition and sixth sense is a much better litmus test for truth than opening your ears and just saying whatever comes in, comes in. Nuh-uh. Have a little filter on there. Try it on for size. The mystic. How many mystics do we have in the room today? Everybody's hand should be up. Everybody, one of us, has the same potential as any mystic, any teacher, any prophet that ever walked the face of the planet. Bah, bah. I'm saying go ahead and bow and howl at the moon and live as the amazing gift that you are. God is showing up at the point of view, not just one person, not just two or three, but from the level of the SQ, from the gut. You know that you know who you are. Uh-oh, let's put that on the back seat. It doesn't belong in the front seat. No, it belongs in the front seat. So don't blindly accept a blind faith. A realized faith is better than a blind one. Say that with me. A realized faith is better than a blind one. One more time. A realized faith is better than a blind one. If any spiritual institution or any minister is having you follow their way or the highway, run as fast as you can to the highway. Anybody that's saying my way or the highway, get in your car and get to the highway as quickly as you can, because that's the very definition of a cult. That is the very definition of a cult. Who's the wolf in sheep's clothing? Let's just get real. I'm telling you, think for yourself. Try it on for yourself. Live it for yourself. Implement it. Integrate it into your life in such a way that you prove the essence of God that is of your understanding. And if that means you howl or you bow or whatever you do, just do it. And then come back and share it in the community and says, look what I learned. The God of my understanding. The evolution of my understanding that I found here that bypasses here. And even bypasses here. Truth should be processed through heart and spiritual connections, intuitive emotions, and direct experience, not through religious manipulation or religious bullying. I want to repeat that. Truth should be, must be, through heart expressions, intuitive emotions, and direct experience, not through religious manipulation. Don't accept what I have as a second-hand truth. Take it as a first-hand challenge to go find God here, and here, and be integrated. I learned something as I prepared for the message today, and I was just blown away by this. Did you know that many of the attributes of the brain, many of the neurons and the layers of the brain are the same as the digestive system? I'd never heard that before. But that there are two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal system. You see, what I'm talking about is not just spiritual, it is physiological. It might bring new meaning to the song, I release and I let go. There's a lot. Was that a groan from the front table? The reality is, if you've ever gone with your gut, you're listening to what science is calling your second brain. Your body is an amazing instrument. You were designed in a perfection, and that neural system that goes from here to your gut is important to listen to. I'm going to call that the Christ. I'm going to call that the spiritual cord. I'm going to call it the connection. When you're having butterflies in your stomach, when you're having a gut feeling, it is the second brain saying, pay attention. This will espouse everything that somebody else taught you at one point. This will just regurgitate what somebody told you, a minister, a teacher in a college or an elementary school, and it's not always accurate. We've got to do the connection from here to here. The SQ will inform us and say, this doesn't feel true anymore. How many of you think the same way you did 15 years ago? Thank God no hands went up. That's a sign of an evolving spirituality, an evolving human, because your SQ got brought into the equation that says don't blindly accept it because it was in a book And somebody told me it was true. Hidden in the walls of your digestive system, this brain in your gut is revolutionizing medicine's understanding. They call it the enteric nervous system. The enteric nervous system. It's physiological, a truth, and it's spiritually a truth. Jesus demonstrated this gut feeling over and over and over again. If you read scriptures, everybody was telling the man where he should go, where he shouldn't go, what he should be saying, and what he should not be saying, how to do what he was doing. Everybody had an opinion about the man's life. They told him everything. Instead, what did the man do? Our example. What did he do? He followed his instinct. He followed an inner voice. He followed an intelligence and an intuition based on a spiritual truth. A spiritual truth. What do we call that? What do we call that in unity? It's the Christ. See, we must draw a clear difference between Jesus, the man, and the Christ essence, the Christ spirit, the light, the cord that is connecting all parts of our spirit, soul, and body. We challenge you to get in touch with the Christ of your nature, not somebody else's nature. The Christ is not a second-hand experience, and it cannot be, either through me or through somebody who lived 2,000 years ago who was saying, wake up, there's more to you than you know. Ours is to follow his example. Jesus followed his instinct and his inner voice and his intuition, and if we follow his example, we need to do the same thing too. John is my favorite of the apostles. He's the most mystical. He represents love, but he also represents that cord. This is what he wrote in the book of 1 John, which is the most mystical of the Gospels. Let's read it together. You, dear children, are from God. The one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. He's not talking about a man. He's talking about an essence. I invite you to place your hand on your gut first, not your heart. Place it on your gut and to say, the one that is in me is greater than the one that is in the world. Together, the one that is in me is greater than the one that is in the world. Again, the one that is in me is greater than the one that is in the world. John is writing about Christ, not a man. He's indicating a God essence, not a person. An intuition that exists in his gut, not an historical figure or personality. The only difference between Jesus and anybody in this room, call it out, what is it for you? The only difference. There is no difference, Gay says. At a spiritual level, that's absolutely, profoundly, absolutely the truth. There is no difference between you and that man Jesus. Now, at the human level, what's the difference between Imani and Jesus? A belief, a faith, a trust, understanding, a greater love. There's the 5 stones that David used to slay Goliath. There's the 5 soul senses that we need to cultivate and to embrace. Let me tell you that what I put as my difference, because you have to listen to me. They pay me to come up here and talk. He was listening to the inner voice of God, and we have forgotten to listen to the inner voice of God. He had his Christ nature at the front seat, and we have put the Christ nature in the back seat. That's the only difference. We're one thought, one idea, one expression, one action away from that intuition, that faculty of inner spiritual knowing from being in the front seat. Get on the highway. What is it? Jesus take the wheel? No, it's Christ take the wheel. Love take the wheel. Understanding and compassion take the wheel. The ability to see that which is standing under. Take the wheel of my life so that my IQ, my ego does not delude me. Is there a great deceiver in unity? Yeah, it's the human ego between your ears. It's the IQ that says, this is what they taught me, so this is what the truth is. And unless the SQ is brought into the equation, you're going to find suffering. The only difference between Jesus is he listened. How did he know the difference between the ego and the Christ? Anybody? How did he know the difference? A gut feeling. What's that? Consciousness. Let's dig it deeper. Let's just make it more practical. He spent time in relationship with the voice. That's it. He knew because he practiced regularly. If you read the scriptures, he went apart for a while. I'm in the world, I'm in the world, I'm in the world. I'm having an experience here, here, and here. Let me step aside and remember, there's something different going on here. There's something more profound and deeper going on here. He spent time in the relationship. How many of you, if you got a call right now on your phone, and you picked it up and all you heard was the word, hi, and it was your mother, would not know with one word, that's the voice of mom. Hi, Mom. Why is that? Why is that? Because you spent time. You have history. You have regular visits with Mom. You recognize the voice as soon as it hits. Well, this is true with the voice of God. We learn to decipher what is God and what is of the ego because we're spending time in both those worlds. And the voice says, hi. Oh, I remember you. I talked to you last night. I talked to you last week. How's it going, light? How's it going, love? And if we don't recognize that difference, it's just merely an invitation to spend more time in the relationship. If you don't recognize your mom's voice when she calls, spend more time with your mom. You'll get there. You don't recognize the voice of God, spend some more time in the silence, in the stillness. Get out of here, and go, can we talk? Can we talk? Can we have a conversation? Can we be together? The SQ needs your time. You are from God, and the one that is in you is greater and waiting for you to visit. You know, we're all surrounded, like Jesus was, with opinions. Have you noticed that? Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a judgment. Everybody's got something you should be doing, right? We live in that perspectives, and we wrestle with 1,000 different options and choices. I laugh at this community, and it makes me laugh anytime somebody says, let's do a survey. Let's do a survey at Unity North, and let's give them 2 choices. I feel like my intuitive faculty, my psychic abilities are there because I'll say to the staff, something tells me it's going to be a 50-50. Every single time we do a survey, it's 50-50. How do I know that? I have some experience listening to the voice. And we say, no, let's mix it up. Let's give them 3 choices, and let's see what happens. I said, wait a minute. I think it's going to be a third, and a third. You know, it's a blessing and a curse to have an eclectic environment because we all have those opinions and perspectives. What is the only voice that matters at the end of the day? This one. It's the only one that matters. And we laugh. Let's do another survey. Someday you're going to survey and there'll be 100 choices. And I can laugh already in advance because if you ask for an opinion of 100 Unity people, you'll get 105 opinions. Let that sink in. Your mom's voice has been practiced. We must practice the voice of God because we're going to have all these opinions, all of these different perspectives coming at it. I'm one of them. Today I'm sitting up here giving you one opinion, one perspective of God. Don't accept it and regurgitate it. Go try it on for size. The input and the information we receive is ours to take to headquarters, the SQ. We're using that system whether we're conscious of it or not. And so many people are using that system when they make a decision to just abdicate to you. Oh, Marianne said it's true, so I'll follow Marianne. Believe all responsibility, but the reality, not making a decision is a decision. Not owning what I'm feeling at the gut is also a decision. You're using the system whether you like it or you don't like it. We make that decision alone, and that can be scary. But that's what the Christ did. Stand alone as the lone wolf, the lone sheep. I don't care what you call it, but be the magnificent expression of the Christ that you are. Know that people will try to crucify you for it. But at the end of the story is a resurrection, a greater awareness, a greater relationship, a greater expression of who you are meant to be. If we are conscious, as we fall down and we get back up, we're getting information. I made a decision. It didn't work out so well. Let me go back and have that visit. Was that the voice of God, or was that this voice? I got information, take it back into life. Or then something worked out perfectly that you went against the grain. You listened to hear, and everything worked out better than anybody ever have that? My life is a series of listening to this when everybody said, do it differently. Those surveys come in, and at the end of the day, it's 50-50. We get to go, what does God want to do? As a staff, as a ministry, we drop down into the SQ and say, okay, we're not getting a clear opinion here. Let's know what God wants to do. Every time we listen to the gut, things worked out. We are a demonstration of SQ. And every time, let's be real here, we went from here, and it still have it, even ministries have this, it did not work out. It didn't work. We lost. Somebody got hurt. Something didn't happen. And when you go for the SQ, it works out every single time because we take the lessons that happen as a result of the voices we're listening to, and we bring it into the meetings. What did we learn? What did the voice of God sound like in that moment? Let's tune into that a little more often. What happened when we didn't listen to God? You know, I used to lead a choir here, 80-member choir, and we'd have rehearsals, and trying to control 80 people can be challenging, 80 unity people. All have ideas about the music we should be doing or how it should be sung. And inevitably what would happen, we started every choir practice with prayer, with centering and knowing. And we'd be into a rehearsal one night, and I'd say, why is this not working? It sounded so much better last week. The voices aren't gelling. Things aren't happening here. And somebody from the back row would say, I think you forgot to pray. I think you forgot to remember that this is a musical exercise. Second, first and foremost, it is a spiritual exercise. What we do, whether it be singing, whether it be teaching, whether it be running a bulldozer, it's a spiritual exercise. And that consciousness itself makes a way out of no way. It did for Jesus. It makes a way out of no way, even though I didn't go where they told me I was supposed to go, or I didn't say what they said I was supposed to say. It says in the book of Revelation, also written by John, the love of us. Let's read that next together. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. Now, it's easy to say, okay, I'm inviting Jesus into my life, and now he comes in. The Christ is already there. What you were doing, the coming in, the knocking of the door, is here, and I'm inviting it into my experience. I am the portal for the Christ to be manifested. I am the portal by the decisions and the intuitive decisions I'm making to bring a greater light into the world, not the other way around. That's putting the light in the front seat. It already is in here. I open the door. The knocking is coming from the inside. There's a quote somewhere that somebody said, I'd rather stand inside the church and kick the doors open than knock on the outside of the door trying to get in. That's what the Christ is doing. Christ got in. Buddha got in. The light is already in, and it is knocking passionately at the door. Let me out. Remember, I'm here. You know, Carolyn Mace wrote this, and I'm going to invite us to read this together. The contemporary mystic, more often than not, does not reside in a monastery. The new mystic's community is that of humanity itself through becoming a channel for grace. This is our job as spiritual students. This is our jobs as followers of Buddha and Christ and Krishna and Muhammad and Abraham. We are the portal. We are the avenue. We are the channel, and we're waiting around. Tell me what I'm supposed to believe. Tell me what I'm supposed to know. And those are the sheep. The sheep are the ones that are following blindly and not thinking for themselves. Here I am. I'm standing at the door. What happened? You quit listening to me. Our divine is constantly living in the community. And the mystics of today are not going away into a cave. Oh, let me close the door, sit in a cave, and change the world. That's possible. I'm saying the people are the mystics that are in the middle of the congregation right now, in the middle of Marietta, in the middle of the United States, that are not accepting status quo, saying, I'm going to be the change that I want to see in the world, and I will not blindly accept the crap that's being fed to me anymore. Jesus did it. He's our example, and the Christ is knocking at the door. It says, don't blindly accept it anymore. Take a moment to close your eyes and put your hand on your heart. And I want you to feel that inner mystic, that inner light. I'm going to invite the band to come back up. Let's keep your eyes closed, and I want you to take these words from this poem entitled, Today I Will Listen. It's by Marva Shand McIntosh. And those of you online, please do it with us. Close your eyes and place your hand upon your heart. And make these words, take them personally. Today I will listen. Without interrupting, without prejudging, without second-guessing, without gazing, without rehearsing, without discounting. Today I will listen. Without filtering, without correcting, without contradicting. Today I will just listen. Say that with me. Today I will just listen with attention, with humility, with respect, with patience, with understanding, with awe, with gladness, with empathy, with warmth, with gratitude, with reverence. Today, I will just listen. And now take your hand and place it on your gut. That poem can be taken as an external reality. It wasn't meant there. It's an internal reality. Today, I will just listen. Together, today, I will just listen. Okay, I've still got more. They all thought I was going to be done. I've got a few minutes left. Don't leave. Hang right there. Tom, you stay right there because we may lose you if you go out that door. Listening is your best tool for your intuitive faculty. Listening is the best way to get the Christ back in the front seat. Listening to what? Listening to your body. Listening to your environment. Noticing the synchronicities. Noticing everything about the coincidence of your life. It's all information that's driving you here. The Christ is driving you out of here. My father comes from a long line of people that the only way they had any kind of value was their IQ. How many pieces of paper do you have on the wall? How many great thoughts do you have in your head? It's all IQ. And my father's family is one big long lineage of suffering. Suffering, because that's all they had. There was no SQ involved. They don't even know what that means. They'd run from the room if I brought it up. I married into a family that's all about the EQ. Let's feel. In New Thought, we do a lot of feeling, don't we? Let's feel. Let's get in touch with our emotions. And that's a beautiful thing. The IQ and the EQ are both great tools. But my wife's family suffered more than my father's family because all they had was emotion. Ego-driven realities. I wanted both families to get the SQ, and they never got it. God rest the ones that have passed, who maybe at a new dimension said, wow, there was so much more to me than I knew. This was a tool. This was just a tool. But there was something deeper going on. Listen to your body, your environment. Be mindful with curiosity, and let the curiosity question authority. Question what the minister is saying. Question what you were taught. Don't sit in somebody else's rut, but create your own new expansive universe. Use the senses, the 5 senses, gifts of God that you have been given to gather information and pay attention to divine discontent. That's a gift of God. Something doesn't feel right. I have a gut feeling something needs to change. Listen to that inner voice that oftentimes is speaking in the shadows. The shadow is just as valuable as the light because it's information to you getting closer to home. Journal regularly, share regularly. Find ways and environments where you are encouraged to share out loud, vulnerably, humbly, because that's putting the Christ back in the front seat, the Buddha back in the front seat. Let your spiritual intelligence follow the example of the master teacher. Don't let it be an accident. We've all touched an SQ. Oh, what happened automatically? I wasn't paying attention. Jesus lived life on purpose. Buddha lived life on purpose. We are challenged to do the same. Let the SQ not be an accident. Let it be a practice, a regular practice. Jesus did it intentionally, not spontaneously. He did it voluntarily, not accidentally. If your spiritual path is a once in a moment accident, let me just blindly follow what you tell me is true. It's just easier that way. And the gift of you is then lost on the planet. The gift of the change that wants to come through you is now lost for eternity. The Gospel of Thomas says, bring forth that which is within you, and it will give you life. You don't bring it forth, and it will destroy you. But if we're all connected, it's not just destroying you. A piece of the puzzle that is the evolution of the world has now been lost. The world needs your gut. The world needs your second brain. It needs your IQ, your EQ, and your SQ. Jesus used it instead of relying on authority. SQ will line our lives up to the place where miracles are commonplace. And love is more common than anything unlike love. And the peace that we talk about, that we sing about, that we desire, is an every moment experience from here. And not once in a while I touch it. We're not going to find peace on earth here. We're not going to find it here. We're going to find it by putting our intuition, our sixth sense, back in the front seat.